The divorce papers felt heavier than they should have. I sat in the sleek conference room of Yamamoto Industries, my hands trembling as I stared at Hiroshi's signature, already dried, already final. The ink was black as the suit he wore, sharp as the words his mother had spoken 3 months ago in this very building. "You're a distraction, Miss Chen. Hiroshi needs focus. The family needs heirs from appropriate bloodlines." I was 24. He was 30. We'd been married 18 months. I pressed my palm against my abdomen, feeling the secret I'd discovered only that morning. 8 weeks along. The clinic's ultrasound printout was folded in my purse, the grainy image of a tiny life, or lives, the technician had said, squinting at the screen, that would never know its father. "Miss Chen?" Takeshi, Hiroshi's attorney, cleared his throat. "We need your signature to finalize." I looked up. Across the mahogany table, Hiroshi sat perfectly still, his dark eyes unreadable. He'd barely looked at me since I arrived. His mother, Yuki, stood by the window like a sentinel, her silver-streaked hair pulled back so tightly it seemed to stretch her features into permanent disapproval. "The settlement is generous," Takeshi continued, sliding another document toward me. $2 million. The apartment in Tribeca is yours to keep for 6 months while you... I don't want it. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Yuki turned sharply. "Don't be foolish. You'll need... I don't want anything from the Yamamotos." I met Hiroshi's gaze for the first time in weeks. Something flickered there. Surprise, perhaps, or regret. But it vanished so quickly I might have imagined it. I signed my name. The pen scratched across paper, each letter a small death. Hiroshi stood abruptly, buttoning his jacket with precise movements. "Takeshi will handle the transfer of funds regardless of your..." "Keep it." I gathered my purse, my coat. "Use it for your next wife, the appropriate one." I walked out before anyone could respond, my heels clicking against marble floors that had never felt like home. The elevator descended 60 floors, and with each one, I felt the weight of the Yamamoto name falling away. By the time I reached the street, November rain had started, cold, relentless, soaking through my coat in seconds. I didn't care. I walked 12 blocks to the small studio apartment I'd secretly rented 2 weeks ago, knowing this day would come. The space smelled of fresh paint and possibility. 1 room, a tiny kitchen, a bathroom with a shower I'd have to clean myself. No marble, no staff, no Yuki's critical gaze following my every movement. I locked the door, slid down against it, and finally let myself cry. But only for 10 minutes. Then I stood, pulled the ultrasound from my purse, and taped it to the refrigerator. The technician's words echoed. "Looks like twins, but we'll confirm at your next appointment." Twins. I pressed my hand to my stomach again. "It's just us now," I whispered. "But that's going to be enough." 4 years later, I sat on a bench in Central Park, watching Kenji and Akira chase pigeons near Bethesda Fountain. They were perfect. Dark hair that caught the afternoon sun, eyes that held Hiroshi's intensity but my warmth, laughter that made strangers smile as they passed. "Mama, look," Kenji called, holding up a pine cone like a trophy. "I see it, baby. It's beautiful." Akira tugged his brother's sleeve. "Let's find more for Mama's collection." They ran off again, their identical winter coats, navy blue, purchased on sale at Target, bright spots against the October leaves. I returned to my book, a thriller I'd picked up at the library. My life had become beautifully ordinary. Morning shift as an administrative assistant at a publishing house, afternoons with the boys, evenings reading after they slept. I'd never used Hiroshi's money, never contacted the Yamamotos, never looked back. My phone buzzed. "Elena, my coworker and closest friend. Still on for coffee after you're done at the park?" "Yes. Same place. 4 p.m. I smiled, tucking the phone away. Simple plans. Simple pleasures, the kind of life that didn't require attorneys or settlements or family approval. Excuse me. The voice froze me. I knew it like I knew my own heartbeat, even after 4 years of silence. Deep, measured, with the faintest trace of an accent his American education had never quite erased. I looked up slowly. Hiroshi stood 3 feet away, hands in the pockets of a charcoal cashmere coat that probably cost more than my entire winter wardrobe. He'd aged, lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before, silver threading through his temples, but he was still devastatingly handsome. Still the man who'd once promised me forever in a courthouse ceremony his mother had refused to attend. Iris. My name on his lips sounded like a question. I closed my book, keeping my expression neutral. Hiroshi. His gaze moved past me, searching. I knew the moment he spotted them, Kenji and Akira, crouched by a tree, examining something in the dirt. His face went absolutely still. There. He couldn't finish. 4, I supplied calmly. They turned 4 in July. I watched the math click into place behind his eyes, watched him count backward, watched the realization hit him like a physical blow. You were pregnant. Not a question. An accusation and an agony wrapped together. Yes. He couldn't say divorced. Couldn't voice the thing he'd done. The day we signed the papers, I'd just come from the doctor. I kept my tone conversational, as if discussing the weather. 4 years of single motherhood had taught me that emotion was a luxury I couldn't always afford. Hiroshi sat heavily on the bench beside me, not asking permission. Up close, I could see he wasn't just older. He was exhausted. Shadows under his eyes. A tension in his jaw I didn't remember. Why didn't you tell me? I almost laughed. Tell you? You'd just signed away our marriage because your mother decided I wasn't good enough. What would you have done, Hiroshi? Chosen differently? He opened his mouth, closed it. We both knew the answer. Mama. Akira ran up, breathless and bright-eyed. We found... He stopped short, staring at Hiroshi with a child's unfiltered curiosity. Who are you? Hiroshi's expression cracked. Just for a second, I saw naked longing cross his features. I touched Akira's shoulder gently. This is an old friend, sweetheart. Hiroshi, this is Akira. I gestured to Kenji, who'd approached more cautiously. And Kenji. Friends? Hiroshi's voice was rough. I met his eyes. What else would you call it? The cruelty was intentional, kind even, the clean cut of a blade rather than the jagged tear. We'd been friends once, before we'd been lovers, before we'd been spouses, before his family's expectations had crushed what we'd tried to build. Kenji tugged my sleeve. Can we get hot chocolate before coffee with Auntie Elena? Of course. I stood, gathering my things. Say goodbye to Hiroshi. Bye, they chorused, already moving toward the park exit. Hiroshi stood too, his hand catching my elbow. The touch sent an unwanted shock through me, muscle memory of when his hands had known every inch of me. Iris, please. We need to talk. I gently pulled free. I don't think we do. Those are my sons. No. My voice was soft but absolute. They're my sons. You signed away any claim to family 4 years ago. I didn't know. And if you had, I challenged. What would have changed? Would you have defied Yuki? Chosen me over the Yamamoto legacy? I smiled sadly. We both know you wouldn't have. I walked away, calling for the boys. I didn't look back, but I felt his gaze on me the entire way to the park gates. That night, after the boys were asleep in the bedroom we all shared, bunk beds I'd assembled myself, walls covered in their crayon masterpieces, I sat at my tiny kitchen table and finally let myself shake. Seeing Hiroshi again had been inevitable. Manhattan wasn't that big, but I'd imagined myself stronger, colder, indifferent. Instead, I'd felt everything. The ghost of the girl who'd loved him, the fury of the woman he'd discarded, the fear of a mother whose carefully built peace was now threatened. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Please. Just one conversation. For them, if not for us. H. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it and turned off my phone. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. Even when your heart still remembered what it felt like to walk through them. The messages didn't stop. Over the next week, they came in steady, careful intervals. Never desperate, never demanding, just there, present. Like Hiroshi himself had learned to be only after I'd left. The boys look healthy. You've done an incredible job. I saw Kenji's smile. He has your dimples. Akira reminds me of my father, the way he observes before acting. I deleted each one without responding. But I read them first, always. On Thursday, a package arrived at my office. Elena brought it to my desk, eyebrows raised. Secret admirer. I recognized the logo on the box, Takahashi's, an exclusive toy store in Midtown, where a single stuffed animal cost more than my weekly grocery budget. Inside, 2 identical wooden puzzle sets, beautifully crafted, age-appropriate, educational but fun, exactly what the boys would love. The card read, "For Kenji and Akira. I have 4 years to make up for. Let me start somewhere." H. Who's H? Elena asked, watching me too closely. I closed the box. No one important. But that night, I let the boys open it. Their delight was worth the complication. Watching them immediately dump the pieces across our small living room floor, working together to build the intricate designs, I felt something soften in my chest. Hiroshi had chosen well. He'd paid attention, even in those brief moments at the park. That scared me more than anything. Saturday morning, I took the boys to their favorite diner for pancakes, a weekly ritual we'd established when they were old enough to sit in high chairs without catastrophe. They were debating the merits of blueberry versus chocolate chip when the door chimed. Hiroshi walked in. Not by coincidence. I saw it in the way his eyes found us immediately, in the relief that crossed his face when he spotted the empty 4th seat at our booth. "Absolutely not," I said before he could speak, but Kenji had already recognized him. "It's Mama's friend, the one from the park." Akira waved enthusiastically. "Hi, Hiroshi." I watched him visibly melt at hearing his name in their voices. He looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen during our marriage: uncertainty. "Please," he said quietly. "Just breakfast." The waitress appeared, coffee pot in hand. "Can I get you something, hun?" Hiroshi waited, his fate in my hands. I should have said no. Should have protected the careful boundaries I'd built. Should have remembered that this man had chosen his mother's approval over our marriage without a moment's hesitation. But Kenji was already scooting over, making room. And Akira was telling Hiroshi about the puzzles with breathless excitement. And I was so tired of being the only parent, the only decision-maker, the only one who remembered doctor's appointments and shoe sizes, and favorite bedtime stories. "Coffee," I told the waitress. "He'll have coffee." Hiroshi's relief was palpable as he slid into the booth. The boys dominated the conversation, as 4-year-olds do. They told him about their preschool, their teacher, Miss Rodriguez, the class hamster named Mr. Whiskers, who was actually a girl. They showed him the gap, where Kenji had lost his first tooth last month. Hiroshi listened like they were reciting poetry. He asked questions that made them think. When Akira spilled orange juice across the table, Hiroshi cleaned it up without flinching, his expensive coat sleeve soaking up the mess like it was nothing. I watched, silent, guarded. Mama's really good at building things. Kenji announced proudly. She built our beds all by herself. Something flickered across Hiroshi's face. Shame, maybe, or regret. Your mama is remarkable, he said, meeting my eyes over the boys' heads. I've always known that. Then why did you... I caught myself. Not here. Not in front of them. But Hiroshi heard the unfinished question. I saw it land. After breakfast, as we stood outside the diner, the boys distracted by a street performer juggling nearby, Hiroshi finally said what he'd come to say. I was a coward. I blinked. What? 4 years ago. I was a coward. He stared at the juggler, not at me. My mother said you were unsuitable. My advisors said the marriage was impulsive, bad for business. The family elders questioned your background, your education, your... He stopped. I listened to all of them instead of listening to you, instead of listening to myself. Why are you telling me this now? Because seeing you in that park, seeing them... He gestured toward Kenji and Akira. I realized I've spent 4 years building an empire I don't even want. Yamamoto Industries has tripled in value. We've expanded into 6 new markets. I've exceeded every expectation my mother ever set. Congratulations. I'm miserable, Iris. The raw honesty in his voice caught me off guard. I eat dinner alone in a penthouse that feels like a mausoleum. I attend charity galas where everyone wants something from me. I see couples with children, and I feel... He finally looked at me. I feel like I'm watching a life I was supposed to have, but threw away because I was too much of a coward to fight for it. That's not my problem anymore. I know. He stepped closer. I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm not asking you to take me back or forgive me or... He swallowed hard. I'm just asking if I can know them. My sons. I'll sign whatever documents you want. Give you full custody, full control. I just want to be part of their lives. Please. I looked at Kenji and Akira, still entranced by the juggler. They were happy. Adjusted. They didn't need the complication of a father who'd already abandoned them once, even if that abandonment had been unknowing. But they also deserved the chance to know where they came from. Who they came from. I need to think about it, I said finally. Hiroshi nodded, accepting the non-answer. He pulled out his wallet and handed me a business card. Not his corporate one, but a personal one with only a phone number. This is my direct line. No assistants, no secretaries, just me. He hesitated. I know I have no right to ask for anything, but thank you for breakfast, for letting me sit with them. It's more than I deserve. He walked away before I could respond, his figure disappearing into the Manhattan crowd. That night, after story time and teeth brushing and the elaborate bedtime ritual that had evolved over 4 years of single parenthood, I sat on my fire escape with a cup of tea and Hiroshi's card. Elena had warned me. Men like that don't change, Iris. They just get better at hiding who they really are. But the man at breakfast hadn't been hiding. He'd been vulnerable, present, real in a way the Hiroshi I'd married had never quite managed to be. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. But I knew. I forgot to mention, Akira's laugh sounds exactly like yours. Thank you for that, for them, for everything you've done alone. I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on. They have swimming lessons Wednesday at 4 p.m. PS 234 pool. You can watch from the gallery if you want. His reply came immediately. I'll be there. I turned off my phone and looked out at the city lights, wondering if I'd just made the best decision of my life or the worst. In the bedroom, Kenji murmured something in his sleep. Akira's answering snore was soft and steady. My boys. My world. My everything. And now, possibly their father's everything too. Whether that would heal us or break us remained to be seen. Hiroshi arrived at the pool 15 minutes early. I watched him from the locker room entrance as he stood in the observation gallery, hands in his pockets, looking utterly out of place among the other parents in their athletic wear and coffee-stained sweatshirts. His tailored wool coat and Italian shoes marked him as someone who didn't belong in this world of plastic chairs and chlorine-scented air. But when Kenji and Akira emerged in their matching swim trunks, his face transformed. He pressed his palm against the glass barrier separating the gallery from the pool deck, and I saw his lips move. My sons. The instructor, a cheerful college student named Marcus, led the boys through warm-up exercises. Kenji was fearless, splashing in immediately. Akira, more cautious, tested the water temperature 3 times before committing. Hiroshi noticed. I could see him cataloging every detail, learning their personalities through observation. After the lesson, I let him join us in the lobby. The boys, still damp despite aggressive towel drying, immediately monopolized his attention. "Did you see me swim?" Kenji demanded. "You were incredible," Hiroshi said seriously. "Your form is already improving." Akira tugged on Hiroshi's sleeve. "I went underwater for 5 whole seconds. 5 seconds is very brave." Hiroshi crouched to their level. "When I was your age, I was afraid of putting my face in the water." "Really?" Akira's eyes widened. "Really. My father had to bribe me with toys to get me to try." The casual mention of family, of his own childhood, created a strange intimacy. The boys peppered him with questions about what toys, whether he could swim now, if he had a pool. Hiroshi answered patiently, never condescending, treating their curiosity with respect. I watched from a distance, arms crossed, trying to maintain emotional distance even as something in my chest ached. This was what I'd imagined during my pregnancy, a partner to share these small moments with, someone who cared about 5-second underwater achievements as much as I did. "Ice cream?" Hiroshi asked, looking at me. "If that's acceptable." The boys erupted in pleas. I sighed. 1 scoop each, and only because you finished your vegetables at lunch. The ice cream shop was a local place, nothing fancy, formica tables and handwritten flavor boards. Hiroshi looked around with genuine interest, not the disdain I'd half expected. "You come here often?" he asked as the boys debated between bubble gum and cookie dough. "Every Wednesday after swimming. It's our tradition." "You've built a good life for them." There was no judgment in his voice, only recognition. Routines, traditions, stability, everything children need. "Everything I could provide alone," I corrected quietly. He absorbed the rebuke without flinching. "Yes, everything you provided alone, while I was busy proving myself to people whose approval meant nothing." The boys returned with their choices, bubblegum for both, naturally. Hiroshi ordered plain vanilla, and I got my usual strawberry. We sat at a corner table, the boys chattering between licks of increasingly messy cones. "Tell me about them," Hiroshi said. "Everything. I want to know everything." So I did. I told him about Kenji's obsession with dinosaurs, how he could recite facts about the Cretaceous period that I barely understood. About Akira's gentle nature, how he was always the one to comfort crying classmates, to share his toys without being asked. About their different learning styles, their favorite books, the songs they requested at bedtime. Hiroshi listened like I was delivering a lecture on quantum physics, absolute focus, occasional questions, committing every detail to memory. When Kenji climbed into his lap without hesitation, smearing bubblegum ice cream on that expensive coat, Hiroshi didn't even notice. His arm came around his son automatically, naturally, as if they'd done this 1,000 times. I looked away, my throat tight. After ice cream, we walked toward the subway station. The boys held hands between us, swinging their arms, singing a song they'd learned in music class. For a few blocks, we looked like any other family. Mother, father, twin boys. The illusion was dangerous in its sweetness. At the station entrance, Hiroshi hesitated. Can I see them again? You're asking permission? I have no right to demand anything. He glanced at the boys, who were examining a street performer's guitar case. But I'm asking, please. I thought of all the reasons to say no. The disruption to our routine. The inevitable hurt when his novelty wore off, and he returned to his real life. The confusion for Kenji and Akira about who this man was, and why he kept appearing. But I also thought of Akira's face, when Hiroshi praised his underwater swimming, of Kenji's easy comfort in Hiroshi's lap, of how for the first time in 4 years, someone else had carried the weight of their joy and witnessed their small triumphs. Fridays, I said. We go to the park after I pick them up from preschool. 3:30. If you're there, you're there. It wasn't permission. It was conditional tolerance. But Hiroshi's relief suggested it meant the world. He was there every Friday. Rain or shine, 3:30 exactly, waiting by the fountain where I'd first seen him again. He brought nothing flashy. No expensive gifts, no attempts to buy their affection. Just his presence and attention. He learned to push them on swings at exactly the right height. Discovered that Kenji preferred the monkey bars, while Akira loved the slide. Mastered the art of untangling kite strings and negotiating turns on the seesaw. In week 3, Kenji fell and scraped his knee badly. Before I could move, Hiroshi had him scooped up, assessing the injury with calm competence, murmuring comfort while Akira anxiously hovered. He cleaned the wound with bottled water and a clean handkerchief, applied the bandage from my diaper bag. When had I started thinking of it as our bag? And distracted Kenji with a story about his own childhood accident. Your grandfather carried me 6 blocks to the hospital, he told Kenji. I was crying so loud that people thought I'd broken my leg. But it was just a scrape, like yours. Was your daddy scared? Kenji asked, tears drying. Hiroshi's expression softened. Terrified. Because that's what fathers do when their sons hurt. They hurt too. The statement hung in the air between us. An acknowledgement. A claim. Later, as we walked home, Hiroshi had started walking us back, though he never asked to come upstairs. He said quietly, I want to tell them. I stopped. Tell them what? The truth. That I'm their father, Hiroshi. They're getting comfortable with me. They'll start asking questions soon. He turned to face me, the setting sun catching the silver in his hair. I don't want to build this relationship on a lie. And what happens when you get bored? When your mother decides this little experiment in fatherhood has gone on long enough? The words came out harsher than intended. They'll have a father who abandons them twice. No, thank you. His jaw tightened. I'm not going anywhere. You don't get to decide that. Not alone. Not anymore. We stared at each other on the sidewalk, the boys ahead of us examining a particularly interesting fire hydrant, oblivious to the tension. What do you want from me, Iris? Hiroshi's voice was raw. Tell me what I need to do to prove I'm serious. Legally bind myself? Sign away rights that ensure I can't hurt them? Whatever it takes, I'll do it. I want you to understand what you're asking. I stepped closer, keeping my voice low so the boys wouldn't hear. You're asking to disrupt their entire world, to become essential to them. And the thing about becoming essential is that you can't unbecome it. If you're going to do this, you're all in. Forever. Bad days, sick days, tantrum days, school plays and pediatrician appointments and fights about vegetables, not just the fun park visits. I want all of it. Do you? Or do you want the idea of it? I challenged. The redemption story. The second chance. The Instagram perfect moments. He moved closer, his voice dropping. I want to wake up at 2 a.m. because Akira had a nightmare. I want to help with homework I don't understand. I want to negotiate bedtimes and worry about fevers and celebrate lost teeth. His eyes held mine. I want the life I should have been living for the last 4 years. And I know I can't get that time back. But I'm begging you to let me have whatever time is left. The rawness in his confession cut through my defenses. This wasn't the Hiroshi who'd signed our divorce papers without a fight. This was someone I'd never met. Someone willing to be vulnerable, to admit need, to put someone else's requirements before his own pride. We tell them together, I said finally, when I think they're ready, when you've proven... I stopped, recalibrated. When we've established that this is permanent. How long? As long as it takes. He nodded, accepting the indefinite sentence. Thank you. The boys ran back to us, Akira clutching a fallen leaf he wanted to add to his collection. Kenji demanded to know if we could get pizza for dinner. The moment passed, absorbed into the ordinary rhythm of parenting. But that night, after the boys were asleep, I stood in my small kitchen and finally let myself consider the impossible. Maybe Hiroshi meant it. Maybe some people really could change. Maybe second chances weren't always foolish. Maybe. The shift happened gradually, like seasons changing. Hiroshi integrated himself into our lives with the patience of someone who understood he was on probation. Fridays became Fridays and Tuesdays. Then Wednesday swimming lessons, where he'd started helping Marcus with the younger kids, earning the instructor's respect and the boys' admiration. Then Saturday morning pancakes at our diner. I stopped being surprised when my phone buzzed with photos. Hiroshi and the boys building block towers at the bookstore's play area, all three of them concentrating with identical furrowed brows. Hiroshi helping Akira sound out words from a picture book. Kenji asleep on Hiroshi's shoulder during a subway ride, ice cream still smudged on his cheek. He learned our routines without being told. Knew that Akira needed an extra 5 minutes to transition between activities. Understood that Kenji got overwhelmed in loud spaces and needed quiet time afterward. Remembered that I took my coffee with cream but no sugar. That the boys only ate grapes if they were cut in half. That Tuesdays were library days and we never missed them. He's good with them, Elena observed one evening, watching through my apartment window as Hiroshi played tag with the boys in the courtyard below. Suspiciously good. What's that supposed to mean? She gave me a look. It means men don't usually transform overnight from corporate sharks into doting fathers without an ulterior motive. Maybe he's genuine. Or maybe he's playing a long game. Elena sipped her wine. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, Iris. I'm saying be careful. You've built this whole life without him. Don't let him dismantle it just because he suddenly wants to play house. Her warning echoed in my head that night as I watched Hiroshi read bedtime stories, doing different voices for each character in a way that had the boys giggling helplessly. He'd removed his jacket and tie, rolled up his shirt sleeves, made himself comfortable in a space that wasn't his. But the boys loved him. That was undeniable. Hiroshi, Kenji asked during a pause between books, do you have kids? The question landed like a stone in still water. Hiroshi's eyes found mine across the small bedroom. We'd agreed to wait, but Kenji's innocent curiosity was accelerating our timeline. That's an interesting question, Hiroshi said carefully. Why do you ask? Because you're really good at being with us, like a daddy. Akira nodded seriously. Our daddy went away before we were born. Mama said he had important work. The simplified version I'd given them, not a lie, but not the whole truth either. Hiroshi's expression flickered with something painful. Sometimes, he said slowly, people make mistakes. They think work is more important than family, and then they realize too late that they were wrong. Did you make that mistake? Kenji asked with devastating directness. Yes, Hiroshi answered. I did, a very big one. Did you say sorry? I'm trying to. The boys seemed to accept this. Children's logic was beautifully simple. Mistakes could be forgiven if you said sorry and meant it. After they fell asleep, Hiroshi and I stood in my small kitchen, the space suddenly feeling too intimate with both of us in it. I should have handled that better, he said. You handled it perfectly. I poured us both tea, a habit I'd fallen into on the evenings he stayed later. They'll start putting pieces together soon anyway. Are you ready for that conversation? I looked at him. Really looked. 3 months of consistent presence. 3 months of showing up, learning, adapting. 3 months of being the father I'd needed him to be from the beginning. I think so, I admitted. But Hiroshi, you need to understand something. When we tell them you're their father, everything changes. You can't be the fun friend anymore. You'll have to be the parent who says no, who enforces rules, who makes the hard decisions. I know. Do you? I challenged. Because right now, you get all the good parts. The laughter and the games and the ice cream. But parenting is also tantrums at 3 a.m. and refusing to share toys and meltdowns in the grocery store. It's being so tired you can't remember if you brushed your teeth. It's loving them so much it physically hurts. He set down his tea and moved closer. Iris, I've spent 3 months watching you do all of that alone. I've seen you fall asleep sitting up during story time because you'd worked a full day and still managed to get them to swimming and make dinner and help with their alphabet practice. I've watched you stretch a budget that shouldn't work and somehow make it cover everything they need. I've seen you be mother and father both. His voice roughened. And every single time, I've thought about how I should have been there, how I could have been there, how I threw away the chance to be there because I was too weak to stand up to my mother. Yuki doesn't know, does she, about them? No. He leaned against the counter. She thinks I've been working late, attending business dinners. You can't hide this forever. I'm not trying to. He met my eyes. I'm trying to build something strong enough to withstand her disapproval. Because when she finds out, and she will, she'll do everything in her power to destroy this. To destroy us. The casual use of us made my breath catch. When had we become an us again? Your mother has no power over my children, I said firmly. Our children. His correction was gentle but absolute. And you're right, she doesn't. But she'll try. She'll offer money, threaten legal action, use every connection she has to prove I'm making a mistake. He moved closer. So I need you to trust me. When that storm comes, I need you to believe I'll choose you. Choose them. Choose this. How can I trust that when you didn't choose me before? The question I'd been avoiding for 3 months. The wound that hadn't healed despite his patient presence. Hiroshi reached out slowly, giving me time to move away. When I didn't, his hand curved around my cheek. I can't change what I did 4 years ago. I can't give you back the pregnancy I should have been there for. The birth I should have witnessed. The first words and first steps and all those firsts that are gone forever. His thumb traced my cheekbone. But I'm choosing you now. Every day. Every moment. And I'll keep choosing you until you believe it. I should have stepped back. Should have maintained the boundaries I'd carefully constructed. But I was so tired of being strong alone. They have a doctor's appointment next week, I heard myself say. Routine checkup. You could come, if you want. I want, and there's a parent-teacher conference at their preschool, November 15th. I'll be there. Hiroshi. I'll be there, Iris, for everything, always. The promise hung between us, fragile and fierce. My phone buzzed, breaking the moment. A text from an unknown number. Mrs. Yamamoto, we need to discuss your sons. Yuki Yamamoto. The blood drained from my face. Hiroshi saw my expression and took the phone, his jaw tightening as he read. How did she... She has people everywhere. His voice was cold, in a way I hadn't heard since our marriage. Someone must have seen us, reported back. What does she want? To control the narrative. He was already texting back. to make this situation work in her favor or eliminate it entirely. She can't eliminate my children. Our children. He corrected again. Then quieter. No, she can't. But she'll try to buy them. Or you. Or failing that. She'll try to destroy your credibility, prove you're an unfit mother, sue for custody. Terror clawed at my throat. She can do that? She can try. Hiroshi's expression hardened into something almost frightening, the ruthless businessman I'd glimpsed during our marriage. But she won't succeed. I won't let her. His phone rang, Yuki's name on the screen. Don't answer it, I said. I have to. He squeezed my hand once, then stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind him. I could hear his voice through the thin walls, low, controlled, speaking Japanese too rapidly for me to follow. The conversation lasted 7 minutes. When he returned, his expression was grim. She wants to meet you. Tomorrow, her office. Absolutely not. Iris, I'm not walking into her territory and letting her intimidate me again. The memory of that conference room 4 years ago, of Yuki's cold assessment and colder words, made my hands shake. She can meet us on neutral ground or not at all. Hiroshi studied me, and I saw something like pride in his eyes. You've gotten stronger. I had to. Then we meet her together, on our terms. He pulled out his phone. I know a place. The restaurant Hiroshi chose was deliberately symbolic. A small Italian place in the West Village where we'd had our first date 7 years ago. Intimate, public enough to prevent a scene. Neutral territory that belonged to neither of our worlds. Yuki arrived exactly on time, accompanied by Takeshi and another man I didn't recognize. She looked older than I remembered, though still formidable in a dove-gray suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her eyes swept over me with the same cool assessment from 4 years ago, cataloging my off-the-rack dress and second-hand purse. Iris. My name sounded like a diagnosis. Mrs. Yamamoto. Hiroshi stood, gesturing to the empty chairs. Mother, thank you for agreeing to meet here. As if I had a choice. She sat with precise elegance. When my son mysteriously develops a schedule full of unexplained absences, I investigate. Imagine my surprise to discover he's been playing house with his ex-wife and her children. Our children, Hiroshi corrected quietly. Yuki's gaze sharpened. Convenient timing, wouldn't you say? The moment Hiroshi's business value peaks, suddenly there are heirs, children she conveniently never mentioned during the divorce. I didn't know I was pregnant during the divorce, I said evenly. I discovered it the day we signed the papers. And chose not to inform the father? How very mercenary. I chose to protect my children from a family that had already made clear I wasn't good enough. I kept my voice calm despite the anger rising in my chest. You spent 18 months undermining our marriage, Mrs. Yamamoto. You made it clear that I was a distraction, an embarrassment, unsuitable. Why would I subject my sons to that? Yuki's expression didn't change. DNA test. Excuse me? If you expect any recognition or support, we'll need proof of paternity. Hiroshi's hand slammed on the table, making the water glasses jump. Enough. His mother turned to him with raised eyebrows. You're defending this obvious con? She wants access to the Yamamoto fortune. She's refused every cent I've offered. Hiroshi's voice was cold, controlled fury. She's been raising my sons alone for 4 years on an administrative assistant's salary. She lives in a 1-bedroom apartment and shops at thrift stores, and has built a life that doesn't need my money. So your theory doesn't hold. Then what does she want? Nothing, I said. I want nothing from you or your family. I agreed to this meeting as a courtesy because Hiroshi asked. But my sons are happy, healthy, and loved. They don't need the Yamamoto name or money or approval. Yuki leaned back, studying me. You've changed. I had to. The girl I met 4 years ago would have been crying by now, apologizing, trying to please me. That girl doesn't exist anymore. I met her gaze steadily. She learned that pleasing you was impossible, that your approval required erasing who she was. So she stopped trying. Something flickered in Yuki's expression. Not warmth, exactly, but perhaps a glimmer of respect. "Show me pictures," she said abruptly. Hiroshi pulled out his phone, scrolling to the album he'd created. Yuki took it, her face unreadable as she swiped through image after image. The boys at the park, building blocks, reading books, covered in ice cream. Her hand stilled on one particular photo. Kenji and Akira asleep on Hiroshi's lap, his arms around them, his expression unguarded. "They look like you," she said to Hiroshi, her voice softer. "Both of them. Kenji has your father's eyes." "They're extraordinary," Hiroshi said quietly. "Smart, kind, funny. Everything I hoped they'd be." Yuki set down the phone. "And their mother raised them alone while working full-time?" "Yes," I confirmed. "What kind of work?" "Administrative assistant at Madison Publishing." "Education?" "Bachelor's degree in English literature, City College." She processed this. "The boys attend school where?" "PS 234's preschool program. Public school." Not a question, but not quite a judgment either. "It's an excellent program," Hiroshi interjected. "The teacher, Miss Rodriguez, has a master's in early childhood education. The curriculum—" "I'm not criticizing." Yuki's gaze returned to me. "I'm observing. You've managed to provide stability and education on limited resources. That requires intelligence and discipline." It was, perhaps, the closest to a compliment I'd ever received from her. "Mrs. Yamamoto," I said carefully, "I don't know what you want from this meeting, but I need you to understand something. I'm not the girl who married your son. I don't need your approval or your family's acceptance. But if Hiroshi wants to be part of his son's lives, I'm allowing it. Not because of his money or name, but because the boys deserve to know their father. And he's proven, over 3 months, that he's serious. 3 months is nothing." "It's 3 months more than he was there before," I countered. "It's 3 months of showing up, of learning their favorite books and their fears and their dreams, of being present." Yuki turned to Hiroshi. "You're certain about this? About them?" "More certain than I've been about anything in my life. Your commitment to the company will suffer." "My commitment to the company has been absolute for 34 years, Hiroshi said. "And I have nothing to show for it except profit margins and market share. No family, no legacy beyond quarterly reports. That ends now." "You'll be a single father, co-parenting with your ex-wife?" Hiroshi's eyes found mine. "I'm hoping for more than co-parenting, but that's between Iris and me." My heart stuttered. We hadn't discussed that, hadn't touched that possibility. Yuki stood, gathering her purse. "I'll need time to process this, to consider the implications." "There's nothing to consider," Hiroshi said, standing as well. "I'm their father. That's not up for debate or approval. Everything in our family is up for approval." But her tone lacked its usual steel. She looked at me. "How old are they?" 4. They turned 4 in July. "July," she calculated. "So you were pregnant when—" She stopped, and for the first time I saw something like remorse cross her features. "I see." She turned to leave, then paused. "Hiroshi tells me there's a parent-teacher conference next week." "November 15th, I confirmed cautiously. "What time?" Hiroshi and I exchanged glances. 4 o'clock, he said. "I'll be there." Before either of us could respond, she was gone, Takeshi trailing in her wake. I sat down heavily. What just happened? "I think," Hiroshi said slowly, My mother just declared a truce. Or she's planning something. Probably both. He reached across the table, taking my hand. But it doesn't matter. Whatever she plans, we're a united front. You, me, the boys. Family. That word again. Family. Hiroshi, what you said before, about hoping for more than co-parenting. I meant it. His thumb traced circles on my palm. I know I have no right to ask. I know I destroyed what we had. But these 3 months with you, with them, he paused. I remember why I fell in love with you, and I realize I never stopped. My breath caught. You can't just say things like that. Why not? It's true. Because we're not those people anymore. We're different. Yes, he agreed. We're better, stronger. You've become this incredible mother, this fierce protector, and I've learned that power without purpose is meaningless. That the only legacy worth building is the one you come home to at night. You're romanticizing this. I'm being honest. He squeezed my hand. I'm not asking you to marry me again. Not yet. I'm just asking you to consider that maybe, eventually, we could be more than co-parents. More than friends. Maybe we could be what we should have been from the start. Partners. Equals. A family. I wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe in second chances and redemption and love that survived its own destruction. But I'd been hurt too deeply to trust easily. Ask me again, I said quietly, after you've been through 6 months of flu season and potty training regression and nightmare weeks. After you've seen the unglamorous reality of parenting. After you've proven that this isn't just guilt or novelty. 6 months, he agreed. I can do that. We sat in the restaurant where we'd first fallen in love, hands clasped across the table, building something new from the ashes of what we'd lost. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was possibility. And for now, that was enough. The threat came on a Tuesday morning. I was at work, reviewing manuscripts in my small office cubicle, when Elena burst in, phone in hand, face pale. Iris, it's the preschool. They're saying... I grabbed the phone. This is Iris Chen. Ms. Chen, this is Principal Morrison. There's been an incident. My world narrowed to a pinpoint. Are the boys okay? They're safe. They're with me in my office. But there was a man. He approached them during outdoor time. Tried to talk to them through the fence. Said he was a family friend, that he had a message from their grandmother. Ice flooded my veins. What did he look like? Asian, mid-40s, expensive suit. When the teachers confronted him, he left immediately. We've already called the police. I'm on my way. I didn't remember the cab ride. Didn't remember Elena insisting she come with me. Didn't remember anything except the primal terror of a mother whose children had been threatened. Hiroshi was already there when I arrived. He must have broken every traffic law to beat me from Midtown. He stood in the hallway outside Morrison's office on his phone, his voice low and lethal in rapid Japanese. When he saw me, he ended the call immediately. They're fine. Scared, but fine. I pushed past him into the office. Kenji and Akira sat on a small couch, holding hands. When they saw me, they launched themselves into my arms. Mama, there was a scary man. He knew our names. He said grandmother wanted to see us. We didn't go with him, Akira said proudly. Miss Rodriguez said never talk to strangers. You did exactly right. I held them tighter, breathing in their shampoo and playground scent, reassuring myself they were whole and safe. Over their heads, I met Hiroshi's eyes. His expression was murderous. My mother, he said simply. You don't know that. Who else would send someone to approach them? Who else would call herself their grandmother? He pulled out his phone again. I'm ending this. Now. 20 minutes later, We sat in my apartment. Me, Hiroshi, Elena, and a police detective taking our statements. The boys were in their room with noise-canceling headphones, watching their favorite movie, blessedly oblivious to the adult panic happening in the next room. "We have his face on the school's security cameras," the detective said. "We'll run it through our database, see if we get a match." "You won't find anything," Hiroshi said flatly. "My mother uses professionals. Clean records, untraceable." The detective's eyebrows rose. "Your mother hired someone to approach your children?" "To scare us," I interjected, "to demonstrate that she could reach them any time." "That's a serious accusation, Ms. Chen. It's the truth." Hiroshi's voice was ice. "My mother disapproves of my relationship with Iris and the boys. This is her way of showing us that she has power, we don't." After the detective left, promising to post an officer outside the building as a precaution, Elena made tea none of us would drink. Hiroshi paced like a caged tiger, his phone constantly buzzing with messages he ignored. "I should take them away," I said. "Leave the city. Start over somewhere she can't find us." "She'll find you." Hiroshi stopped pacing. "Her network is international. Running will only delay the inevitable." "Then what do we do?" He crouched in front of me, taking my hands. "We fight. Together. We make it clear that the boys are under my protection, that any threat to them is a direct challenge to me. Your mother isn't afraid of you." "No," he agreed, "but she's afraid of scandal, of public shame, of the Yamamoto name being dragged through courts and headlines." His jaw set. "I've spent my entire life protecting that name. It's time it protected something that actually matters." He stood, pulling out his phone. "I'm calling a press conference for tomorrow. We're going public. You, me, the boys, everything. Hiroshi, that's insane. It's the only way to ensure their safety." He was already dialing. "Once the world knows about them, knows they're my acknowledged heirs, my mother can't make them disappear. Too many witnesses, too much scrutiny. You're asking me to expose my children to media attention, to public judgment. I'm asking you to let me do what I should have done 4 years ago. Claim you. All of you. Publicly. Irrevocably." Elena touched my shoulder. "Iris, he's right. Yuki's power comes from operating in shadows. Drag this into the light, and she loses leverage." I looked at the bedroom door, behind which my sons, our sons, were probably arguing about whether the Brachiosaurus or the Triceratops was cooler. 4 years old. Too young to understand what it meant to be Yamamoto heirs. Too young to deal with photographers and reporters and the weight of public scrutiny. But also too precious to leave vulnerable to Yuki's machinations. "Okay," I said. "But we tell the boys first. Everything. Who Hiroshi really is. Who they really are. They deserve to hear it from us before the world does." That night, after Elena left and the police officer took up position outside our building, Hiroshi and I sat the boys down at our small kitchen table. "We need to talk to you about something important," I began. Kenji's eyes widened. "Are we in trouble?" "No, baby. Nothing like that." I glanced at Hiroshi, who nodded encouragement. "Remember when you asked Hiroshi if he had kids? And he said he made a mistake," Akira recalled. "Yes. Well, the thing is..." I took a deep breath. "Hiroshi is your father, your daddy." Silence. The boys looked between us, processing. "Like, our real daddy?" Kenji asked. "Your real daddy," Hiroshi confirmed, his voice thick. "I didn't know about you when you were born. Your mama and I, we had some problems, and we stopped being together before she knew you were coming. But now I know, and I want to be your daddy, if that's okay with you." "Why didn't you know?" Akira, always the logical one. "Because I made mistakes," Hiroshi said simply. "Big ones. I wasn't there when I should have been. But I'm here now, and I'm never leaving again. Kenji climbed into Hiroshi's lap with the easy trust of a child who'd already chosen. So you're our daddy forever? Forever, Hiroshi promised, his arms coming around his son. Nothing will ever change that. Akira looked at me. Is that okay, Mama? Is it okay if he's our daddy? Tears spilled down my cheeks. Yes, baby. It's very okay. He nodded, satisfied, and joined his brother in Hiroshi's lap. Can we call you Daddy now instead of Hiroshi? I would love that. Hiroshi's voice broke on the last word. They peppered him with questions, why he had a different last name, whether we'd all live together now, if he had toys at his house, whether Grandmother Yuki was the scary lady from the school. We answered as honestly as we could in age-appropriate terms. Yes, Daddy had a different last name, but they could have it too if they wanted. No decisions about living together yet. Yes, there were toys at Daddy's apartment, and Grandmother Yuki was complicated. She doesn't like Mama, Kenji observed with a child's blunt perception. Grandmother Yuki doesn't know Mama very well, Hiroshi said carefully. But that's going to change. We're all going to be a family, all of us together. After bedtime, extended by an extra story because the day had been traumatic, Hiroshi and I collapsed on my small couch. Thank you, he said quietly, for letting me tell them, for giving me this. They chose you weeks ago, I admitted. I was just catching up. He turned to face me, his expression serious. Tomorrow changes everything. Once we go public, there's no taking it back. You'll be Mrs. Yamamoto again in the public eye, whether or not we're actually married. The boys will be scrutinized. Your privacy will disappear. I know. And you're still willing? I thought of the man at the preschool fence, of Yuki's calculating eyes, of all the ways power could be wielded against the vulnerable. For them, I'd do anything. Then we do this together. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. My heart stopped. Hiroshi, wait. He opened it, revealing not the engagement ring from our first marriage, but something new. A simple platinum band with 3 small stones, emerald, sapphire, and diamond. This isn't a proposal. Not yet. This is a promise. He slid it onto my right hand. I promise to protect them. To put them first, always. To be the father and partner I should have been from the start. And when I ask you to marry me again, not if, when, I want you to know it's not because of duty or scandal or family pressure. It's because I choose you, every day, forever. I stared at the ring, at the man who devastated me, and was now kneeling before me, literally having dropped to the floor at some point, with hope and fear and love written across every feature. 6 months, I reminded him. You said 6 months. It's been 4. 2 more then. 2 more months of proving you can handle the hard parts. And then ask me again. He smiled. The real smile I'd fallen in love with 7 years ago. The one that crinkled his eyes and made him look younger, lighter. 2 months. I can do that. The press conference the next day was chaos. Flashing cameras, shouted questions, the weight of public attention bearing down like physical pressure. But Hiroshi stood beside me, one hand at the small of my back, and faced the crowd with absolute calm. 5 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life, he said into the microphone. I let my family pressure me into divorcing the woman I loved. I didn't know she was pregnant, didn't know I had sons. His voice strengthened. But I know now. Kenji and Akira Yamamoto are my children. Iris Chen is their mother. And I will use every resource at my disposal to protect them. From anyone, including my own family. The questions came like gunfire. He answered them all with careful honesty, never wavering, never backing down. That night, after the boys were asleep and security had been tripled around our building, my phone rang. Yuki. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity, and perhaps a need for closure, made me pick up. "You've made your point," she said without preamble. "Have I? My son has never publicly defied me, never challenged my authority. You've changed him." He changed himself. A long pause. "The boys, they're really his?" "Yes." "And you want nothing from the family? No money, no access, no power?" "I want my sons to be safe, to know their father, beyond that." I shrugged, though she couldn't see it. "Your approval or disapproval means nothing to me, Mrs. Yamamoto. It never did." I expected anger. Instead, I heard something like respect. "You're stronger than I gave you credit for." "Yes," I agreed simply. "I am." "The parent-teacher conference tomorrow. I'll be there, not to threaten or intimidate, to meet my grandsons properly. They'll be polite. Beyond that, it's up to them." "Fair enough." She paused. "Hiroshi loves you. He always did. I thought that was weakness. Perhaps I was wrong." She hung up before I could respond. 2 months later, 6 months to the day after Hiroshi had first appeared at the park, he took me back to that same bench by Bethesda Fountain. The boys were with Elena, bribed with promises of a movie and unlimited popcorn. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the water, the tourists, the life of the city flowing around us. 6 months, Hiroshi said finally. 6 months, I agreed. I've changed diapers at 3 a.m. Well, pull-ups, but still. I've survived stomach flu and negotiated vegetable consumption and read The Very Hungry Caterpillar approximately 4,000 times. He turned to face me. "I've proven I'm not going anywhere. You have." So, he slid off the bench, onto one knee on the concrete path. Tourists started gathering, phones out. "Iris Chen, you've made me a better man. You've given me the greatest gift of my life. Not just our sons, but the chance to deserve them. To deserve you." He pulled out a ring, the original one from 7 years ago, the one I'd returned during the divorce. "I'm asking you to marry me again. Not because of the boys, not because of family pressure or public perception, but because I love you. Because you're my partner, my equal, my everything. Will you marry me?" I looked at the ring, at the man, at the future he was offering. "Yes," I said. "Yes." He slid the ring onto my finger, where it had always belonged, and kissed me while strangers applauded, and the fountains sparkled in the autumn sun. We'd lost 4 years, but we had the rest of our lives to make up for it. Together. Finally. Forever.